My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Hey folks, many people out there don't know, even if maybe they were taught when they were younger, about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and many of the founding documents of the United States and where that logic was based upon. And they know that Thomas Jefferson contributions, they might know the things that George Washington had said, or Ben Franklin, James Madison, and maybe they were taught those things. Oftentimes, maybe they weren't. I guess it depends on where you went to school and what they thought was important. Goodness. I gotta close this thing up here. That light is just getting to me. Just shining right on my eyeballs. I'm probably messing up the camera too. I hope it's still light enough to be able to see. Anyway, most people don't know that a lot of the foundational understanding for these things came from John Locke. And if you've read my Dracula novel, Locke is one of the characters in there for a short period of time. And Locke, in my telling of the story, trains Vlad, Dracula, whatever you want to call him, Vlad Tepes, on the logic of a democratic republic and why it's important. Now, why would I put that in a book about Dracula? Well, hello, you got to read the book. And if you send me an email, I'll actually send you a free electronic copy. So do that. Anyway, John Locke, of course, a Scotsman with more time on his hands than a lot of people. Locke never married, and spent his time reading and digesting everything he could get his hands on around philosophy and government. And then he began to pull together these ideas, which are now, of course, called Lockean philosophy, which hugely impacted Jefferson and Madison and Washington and Franklin and really everybody of that day, which is of course why he was despised by the monarchy in England. But his goal was that somewhere at some time in the future somebody would create a society that was of the people, by the people, and for the people. The democratic republic that we have today. And of course, a republic is necessary because pure democracy leads to a stratification where you have, you've probably seen the meme, democracy is where two wolves and a sheep sit down to decide what's going to be for lunch. And of course, the wolves are going to vote that mutton is Lord Lamb chops are going to be for lunch. And there would be nothing that the sheep could do about it in a democracy. But in a republic based on laws, laws would be written that none of the citizens could be eaten by other ones. And so in that sense, in that republic, the sheep would be safe from the wolves. And this is all based on the philosophy that Locke came up with. Anyway, he branched out into human endeavors as well. Locke says, reading furnishes the mind only the raw materials of knowledge. It is objective thinking which makes what we read ours. I've had many people tell me, oh, I've read the Bible a dozen times. And then watch them turn around and harm their neighbor. Oh, wait a minute. You read the Bible a dozen times. Or, who knows? Human beings are weird, right? Or I had one person tell me that they read the dictionary all the time so that they could increase their vocabulary. And then they would throw out words that did not mean what they were trying to say. Which reminds me of one of my buddies up in Alaska, and I'm sure Thane will be watching this video as he is a subscriber to my channel. Thane loves to come up with a word and try to stump me all the time. But he didn't have the grandmother that I had, who would sit down and play Boggle or other word games, and you were not allowed to use a word unless you knew what it meant and could properly use it in a sentence. And so I was drilled from a very young age on vocabulary. And some people complain at work, and they're like, Tom, you can't use those highfalutin words in the things that you write. And I'm like, listen, everybody here has a minimum of a bachelor's degree, and most of them have master's degrees. I said, if they don't understand what it is that I'm saying, there's something wrong. And either they got their money stolen from them when they were attending their institution of higher learning, or they didn't pay attention. And as Locke is saying here, you can't just read the stuff. You've got to think about it. You've got to interpret. You've got to be able to regurgitate in a way that makes sense. And if you are unable to do so, then you consumed, but you did not use any critical thinking skills in order to figure out how to use what you have learned. That is knowledge. And of course, you want to aggregate and create an amalgam and put things together in ways that articulate what you are trying to say in its most concise and correct result, so that people can understand what it is that you're trying to say without you having to go on blabbering for 10 minutes or so like I do in these videos. I hope that I am furnishing you with materials that lead to knowledge, so that eventually you can use these things, sharing them with other people, so that we as a group can lift the rest of society. All right? Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll chat with you later. Bye.